I need to tell someone what I did, and you're going to think I'm terrible, but there's something about how this all happened that nobody understands. Everyone says I destroyed my marriage with one careless comment, and technically that's true, but the real reason Marcus left that night isn't what anyone thinks. It's not even what I thought for the first few weeks after he packed his bags. The truth is so much worse than just putting my foot in my mouth at a party, and I've been carrying it around like a stone in my chest ever since. Here's what you need to know: I've been married to Marcus for 7 years. Good marriage, or so I thought. We met in our mid-20s, got married at 28, bought a house in the suburbs, did all the things you're supposed to do. No kids yet, which was a choice we both made because we wanted to focus on our careers first. Marcus is an architect. I work in marketing at a tech company. We had date nights, we took vacations, we had inside jokes. From the outside, we looked perfect. But if I don't tell this story right, you'll never understand why what I said at that party was just the match that lit a fire that had been soaking in gasoline for months. And once you know what I know, you'll see why Marcus leaving wasn't just about those words. It was about everything underneath them. I'm going to tell you everything, including what I did 3 weeks before the party that I never told Marcus about. And the part that makes me look worst. I'm saving that for near the end because you need to understand how I got there first. The party was at our friend's house, Josh and Amanda's place. They throw these dinner parties every few months, usually about 8 or 10 people, mostly couples from our extended friend group. Good food, wine, the kind of evening where everyone's relaxed and conversations flow easily from work gossip to politics to relationships to whatever random topic someone brings up. I'd had maybe 2 glasses of wine. Not drunk, just comfortable. That's important because later Marcus would suggest I was drunk, and I wasn't. I knew exactly what I was saying when I said it. We were all sitting in their living room after dinner, and somehow the conversation had turned to celebrity crushes and types. You know how it goes, everyone joking about which actors they'd leave their partners for, that kind of thing, harmless stuff. Amanda said she'd always had a thing for guys with dark curly hair and glasses, and Josh, her husband, was sitting right there with his straight blonde hair, laughing along. Then someone, I think it was Jen, asked me what my type was. And I should have said Marcus. Obviously, I should have gestured to my husband sitting next to me and said something cheesy like this guy right here. That's what you do in those situations. That's the social contract. But I didn't. Instead, I looked across the room at my coworker Derek, who was there with his girlfriend, and I said, honestly, Derek's more my type, physically speaking. Tall, athletic build, that kind of thing. The room went silent in that horrible way where everyone suddenly becomes very interested in their wine glasses. Derek looked mortified. His girlfriend looked like she wanted to melt into the couch. And Marcus, sitting right next to me, went completely still. I tried to laugh it off. I mean, obviously I married Marcus, so that's what really matters, right? Type isn't everything. But the damage was done. I could feel it radiating off Marcus in waves. The thing is, Marcus is shorter than me by about an inch. 5'8" to my 5'9". He's slim, more of a runner's build than an athletic one. He has delicate features, beautiful really, but not traditionally masculine in the way Derek's are. Derek is 6'2", broad-shouldered, square-jawed. He looks like he walked out of a gym advertisement, and I had just told a room full of our friends in front of my husband that Derek was more my type. We left the party about 20 minutes later. Marcus said he wasn't feeling well. The drive home was silent. That thick, heavy silence where you know the other person is furious but they're holding it together until you get behind closed doors. I kept thinking he'd yell at me once we got home. I was preparing my defense. It was just a stupid comment. I didn't mean anything by it. Obviously I'm attracted to him, or I wouldn't have married him. All the things you say when you've screwed up and you know it. But Marcus didn't yell. He went straight to our bedroom and started packing a bag. What are you doing? I asked, standing in the doorway, my stomach dropping. I'm leaving, he said calmly, methodically folding a shirt. Marcus, come on, I made a stupid comment, I'm sorry, can we just talk about this? He looked at me then and his eyes were completely empty. Do you know what the worst part is? It's not even the comment, it's that you didn't think twice about saying it. You looked right past me like I wasn't even there and told everyone that another man, a man you see every single day at work, is more your type than your own husband. I was just being honest, I said, and I know how that sounds now, but in the moment I genuinely thought honesty was a defense. Yeah, Marcus said. You were, he finished packing. I followed him to the door, increasingly panicked, apologizing, trying to get him to stay and talk. But he just loaded his bag into his car and left. Didn't tell me where he was going. Just drove away at 11:30 on a Saturday night, and I was left standing in our driveway in the dress I'd worn to the party, watching his taillights disappear. That was 6 weeks ago. Here's what I didn't tell anyone in the immediate aftermath, what I barely admitted to myself. I wasn't that upset at first. Shocked, yes. Surprised that he'd react so strongly, absolutely. But devastated? No. There was a part of me, and I hate admitting this, that felt almost relieved. I told myself it would blow over. Marcus was sensitive, I knew that about him. He'd always been a little insecure about his height, about not being more traditionally masculine. He'd stay at his brother's place or a hotel for a few days, cool off, and then we'd talk it through. I'd apologize properly, we'd maybe do a few sessions with a marriage counselor, and things would go back to normal. In the meantime, I had the house to myself. I could sprawl out in bed. I didn't have to negotiate what to watch on TV. I ordered takeout every night without anyone commenting on it. It was like being single again, except I still got to say I was married. I texted him the next day. Can we please talk? No response. I tried calling. It went to voicemail. I sent another text. I know I hurt you. I'm really sorry. Please come home. Nothing. 3 days passed. I started to get worried, but I was also getting annoyed. Yes, I'd made a stupid comment, but was it really worth this much drama? People say thoughtless things all the time. Was he really going to throw away 7 years over one sentence? I confided in my best friend Rachel. We met for coffee and I told her what happened, framing it as Marcus being overly sensitive. I mean, I shouldn't have said it, I admitted. But it was clearly just a joke. Everyone was talking about types. It's not like I said I wanted to sleep with Derek. Rachel looked at me carefully. Did you say Marcus was your type too? Like, did you include him? Well, no, but, so you just said another man was your type and left your husband out of it entirely. When she put it that way, it sounded worse. I was just answering the question honestly. Claire, Rachel said gently, sometimes honesty isn't the most important thing. Sometimes kindness is. I didn't want to hear that. I went home irritated with her too. Everyone was being so sensitive. It was just a comment. Work the following Monday was awkward. Derek avoided me. We'd always been friendly work friends, the kind where you chat in the break room and sometimes get lunch. But now he wouldn't make eye contact. When I tried to approach him in the kitchen, he mumbled something about a meeting and disappeared. Great. Now I'd made things weird at work too. By the end of the first week, Marcus still hadn't responded to any of my messages. I started to panic for real. I drove by his brother's house, but his car wasn't there. I called his brother, Tyler, who picked up but was cold with me. He's staying with me, but he doesn't want to talk to you right now. Can you just tell him I'm sorry? Tell him I want to work this out. I'll tell him, Tyler said, in a tone that suggested he absolutely would not be advocating for me. Tyler, come on, we've known each other for years. You know I love Marcus. It was one stupid comment. Claire, I'm going to be straight with you because someone needs to be. That wasn't just one stupid comment. That was you disrespecting my brother in front of all your friends. And from what he's told me, this isn't the first time you've made him feel like he's not good enough. That stopped me cold. What are you talking about? I think you need to have that conversation with Marcus, not me. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, genuinely confused. Not good enough. I'd never made Marcus feel that way. Had I? I started thinking back over our recent conversations, our interactions. I tried to remember if I'd said something critical, something that might have hurt him. But I couldn't think of anything specific. We'd been fine, normal, maybe a little distant lately, but that's just what happens in long-term relationships. You get comfortable. You stop trying as hard. Week 2 and Marcus finally responded to my texts. Just one message, I need space to think, please respect that. At least it was something. At least he was acknowledging me. I tried to be patient, but patience has never been my strong suit. I sent him a long email pouring out my feelings, explaining that I didn't mean anything by the comment, that of course I was attracted to him, that I loved him and wanted him to come home. No response to the email. I started to get angry again. This was ridiculous. How long was he going to punish me? What did he want exactly? For me to grovel forever over one sentence? Then my mom called. Somehow she'd heard about Marcus leaving. Small town roots, even though we'd moved away, her friend knew Marcus's mom and word had gotten around. Your husband left, she said, scandalized. What on earth did you do? I told her a version of the story, leaving out the Derek specifics, just saying I'd made an insensitive comment at a party. Well, you need to fix this, she said firmly. Marriage is work, Claire. You can't just say whatever pops into your head. Men have egos, you have to be more careful. I wanted to argue that women have egos too, that Marcus was being overly dramatic, but I bit my tongue. I'm trying, Mom, he won't talk to me. Then try harder, go to wherever he's staying, show up with flowers, make a grand gesture. But I didn't want to make a grand gesture. I wanted Marcus to stop being so sensitive and come home so we could have a rational conversation about this. Week 3. This is where things get complicated, where I start to look worse than I already do. I told you I'd get to the part that makes me look worst, and we're getting closer. Derek and I had to work together on a project. Unavoidable. We were both assigned to the same client presentation, and we had to coordinate. It was uncomfortable at first, both of us dancing around what had happened, but after a few days we fell back into our normal rhythm. He was funny and easy to talk to, and I realized how much I'd missed just having casual, light conversations with someone. Everything with Marcus, even in the weeks before the party, had felt heavy, like we were going through motions. One night, working late on the presentation, Derek and I ordered pizza to the office. We were the only ones there. It felt like old times before I'd made everything weird. "I'm sorry about the party," I said finally. "That was awkward for you," Derek shrugged. "It was awkward for everyone. How are things with Marcus?" "He moved out, won't really talk to me." "Shit, Claire, I'm sorry. It's not your fault." "Still, that sucks." We kept working, but I felt his eyes on me more than usual, or maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I wanted to imagine it. Nothing happened that night. I want to be clear about that. But something shifted. There was a charge in the air that hadn't been there before, or maybe had always been there, and I'd just never let myself acknowledge it. I went home to my empty house and realized I'd been smiling more that evening than I had in weeks. That's when I started to wonder, was Marcus right to leave? By week 4, Marcus finally agreed to meet me for coffee. Neutral territory, a Starbucks halfway between our house and Tyler's place. I got there early, practiced what I was going to say. I'd apologize sincerely, tell him I understood why he was hurt, ask him what we needed to do to move forward. But when he walked in, the first thing I noticed was how different he looked. He'd let his beard grow out a little, was wearing a jacket I'd never seen before. He looked good. He looked like someone who was doing fine without me, and that hurt more than I expected. We sat down. The conversation was stiff, formal. "I appreciate you meeting me," I started. "I can't do this anymore, Claire," he said, cutting right to it. "I've been thinking a lot over the past few weeks, and that comment at the party, it wasn't the problem. It was just the moment that made me realize we have a problem, a big one." "What problem?" I asked, defensive already. "You don't see me," he said simply. "You don't see me the way I want to be seen, maybe the way I need to be seen." "That's not true, I love you." "I don't doubt that you love me, but do you desire me? Do you actually want me, or am I just the safe choice you made 7 years ago?" I opened my mouth to protest, but he held up his hand. "Be honest with yourself, even if you can't be honest with me. When was the last time you initiated sex? When was the last time you looked at me the way I've seen you look at other men?" "What other men?" I demanded. "Derek, for one. I've seen how you are around him at company events. You light up. You laugh differently. I've tried to tell myself it doesn't mean anything, that it's just friendly, but then you literally told a room full of people that he's more your type than I am." I felt like I'd been slapped. "You're reading way too much into this." "Am I, Claire? I've felt like a placeholder in my own marriage for at least a year. Maybe longer. You're not mean to me, you're not cruel, but you're not really present either, you're just going through the motions, and I can't live like that anymore." "So what are you saying? You want a divorce?" The word hung in the air between us, ugly and final. "I don't know," Marcus said quietly, "but I know I can't come home right now. I know I need to figure out what I actually want, separate from what I think I should want." "What does that mean?" "It means I need more time. And I need you to really think about whether you want this marriage, not just the idea of being married, but actually being married to me specifically." He left before I could respond, left me sitting there with my untouched coffee, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. I cried in my car for 20 minutes. Then I got angry. How dare he make me the villain in this? How dare he act like I'd been emotionally checked out when he'd been right there next to me, equally complacent? It takes 2 people to let a marriage go stale. But underneath the anger was something else. Something that felt uncomfortably like guilt. Because he wasn't entirely wrong. I thought about our sex life. He was right that I rarely initiated. When we did have sex, it was fine, but it had become routine. Scheduled almost, Saturday mornings, sometimes Wednesday nights. I went through the motions. I never said no, but I never really said yes either. I just participated, and I thought about Derek. About how my pulse quickened when I saw him in the hallway at work. About how I always made sure I looked good on days I knew we'd cross paths. About how I volunteered for projects I knew he'd be on. I'd been telling myself it was just a harmless crush, the kind everyone has. But what if it wasn't harmless? What if Marcus had been watching me fall in love with someone else in slow motion, and that comment at the party was just the first time I'd said out loud what my body language had been screaming for months? I needed to talk to someone, so I called Rachel again. This time I was more honest. I think I might have feelings for Derek, I admitted. Silence on the other end. Then, oh, Claire, I don't know what to do. Marcus says he needs time to think, but what if what I need to think about is whether I actually want to be married at all? Do you love Marcus? I don't know anymore. I care about him. I don't want to hurt him. But do I love him the way a wife should love a husband? I'm not sure I ever did, Rachel sighed. You need to be really careful here. If you leave Marcus for Derek, you'll always be the person who blew up her marriage for a coworker. And what if it doesn't work out with Derek? Then you've destroyed your marriage for nothing. I'm not leaving Marcus for Derek, I said. I'm just trying to be honest with myself about what I'm feeling. Okay, but you should probably figure out what you want before you do anything you can't take back. Week 5. I was a mess. I couldn't sleep. I was barely eating. Work was suffering because I couldn't concentrate. Derek asked me if I was okay, and I almost told him everything. Almost, but I held back. Marcus texted me that he wanted to talk again, this time at the house. He was going to come by to pick up more of his things, and we could talk while he was there. I spent all day cleaning, like that would somehow fix things. I put on makeup. I wore the dress he'd always said he liked. I was ready to fight for my marriage, to tell him I wanted to work on things, that we could go to counseling, that I'd do whatever it took. He showed up at 7, walked in like a stranger, polite and distant, started gathering things from the bedroom, the bathroom. I followed him around, trying to start the conversation. Marcus, please, can we just sit down and talk? He finally stopped in the living room, sat on the edge of the couch. I sat next to him, not too close. Been doing a lot of thinking, he started, and I've been talking to a therapist. That's good, I said. I think we should do couples therapy. I'm not sure we should, he said carefully. Claire, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Have you been unfaithful? What? No, absolutely not. Not physically maybe, but emotionally. I hesitated. That hesitation was damning. With Derek, Marcus said, it wasn't a question. Nothing has happened, I said quickly. I swear to you, nothing physical has happened. But you have feelings for him. I couldn't lie, not directly to his face. I don't know, maybe I'm confused about everything right now. Marcus nodded slowly, like I'd just confirmed something he already knew. Okay, thank you for being honest. Marcus, it doesn't mean anything, it's just a stupid crush. You're my husband, you're the one I chose. No, he said quietly. I'm the one you settled for. And I think I've known that for a long time, but I didn't want to admit it. That's not true. Claire, stop. Please just stop. I don't need you to make me feel better right now. I need you to let me go. And that's when it really hit me. He wasn't asking for space to cool off. He was preparing to leave permanently. I don't want a divorce, I said, tears streaming down my face now. I don't want to lose you. I think you lost me a long time ago. We both just didn't notice. He finished packing his things, kissed me on the forehead like I was a child, and left again. This time felt different. This time felt final. Here's the part I haven't told anyone, the part that makes me irredeemable. 3 weeks before that party, before everything fell apart publicly, Derek and I went to a work conference together. 2 days in a hotel in Chicago, separate rooms, along with a few other colleagues. Professional, appropriate. On the second night, there was a hotel bar, drinks with the team. Everyone else filtered off to bed, and it was just Derek and me, sitting in a booth talking. We were both tipsy, not drunk but loose. Relaxed. He told me his relationship with his girlfriend was falling apart, that they were basically roommates at this point, that he didn't know how to end it because they'd been together for 5 years and breaking up felt like admitting failure. I told him Marcus and I had been distant lately. That I felt like we were more like business partners than spouses, that I couldn't remember the last time we'd had a conversation that wasn't about logistics or bills or whose turn it was to buy groceries. Do you think you married the wrong person? Derek asked. I don't know, I said. Do you think there's such a thing as a right person? I think there are people who make you feel alive, he said. And people who make you feel safe. And sometimes they're the same person, but usually they're not. Which one is your girlfriend? Safe, comfortable, easy, he paused. Boring. Which one is Marcus? I thought about it, really thought about it. Safe. And which one do you want? I looked at Derek, at his eyes, his mouth, at the way he was looking at me like I was the only person in the world, and I wanted to kiss him so badly it physically hurt. I should go to bed, I said instead. Yeah, he agreed, but neither of us moved. We sat there for another 10 minutes, the tension thick enough to cut. Then I stood up, said goodnight, and went to my room. I didn't sleep. I lay there thinking about what it would have been like to stay, to cross that line, to let myself have what I wanted instead of what I was supposed to want. In the morning, we were both professional. We didn't talk about it. We went back home, back to our separate lives and relationships, and I told myself nothing had happened so it didn't count. But it did count. That moment counted, that wanting counted. And when I said at that party that Derek was more my type, what I was really saying, what Marcus heard, was that Derek was the person who made me feel alive and Marcus was just the person who made me feel safe. And no one wants to be told they're the safe choice. Week 6. Present day. Marcus has filed for divorce. I got the papers yesterday. Sat at the kitchen table staring at them for an hour. It's all very civil, very reasonable. We don't have kids, we can split our assets fairly easily. He's not even asking for much, he just wants out. I haven't signed them yet. Derek broke up with his girlfriend last week. I know because he told me at work casually like it wasn't earth-shattering news. Said they'd both known it was over for a while, they were just finally admitting it. He asked me if I wanted to get dinner sometime. Not as a date, he clarified. Just as friends, just to talk. I said I'd think about it. Here's what I know: if I sign those papers and end up with Derek, everyone will say I destroyed my marriage for another man. They'll call me a cheater even though I never technically cheated. They'll say I threw away something good for something shiny and new. And maybe they'll be right. But if I don't sign the papers, if I try to fight for Marcus, am I doing it because I actually want him, or because I don't want to be the villain? Because I don't want to prove everyone right about me, because I'm scared of being alone or being judged. Rachel asked me yesterday what I would do if Derek wasn't in the picture at all. If it was just me and Marcus, no other variables. Would I want to save my marriage then? I didn't have an answer. My therapist, because I'm seeing one now too, asked me a different question: when you think about your future, who do you see in it? And here's the honest truth, the thing that makes me hate myself: I don't see anyone. I see myself alone in a nice apartment, focused on my career, going on dates, having adventures. Free. Maybe I never wanted to be married at all. Maybe I just wanted to want it because that's what you're supposed to do. You meet someone kind and decent who loves you, and you marry them because it makes sense. Because you're at the age where that's what people do. Because being married makes you look like a successful adult. But Marcus deserves someone who doesn't just love him because it makes sense. He deserves someone who looks at him the way I look at Derek. Someone who chooses him not because he's safe, but because they can't imagine choosing anyone else. And I don't know if I'm capable of being that person for anyone. The divorce papers are still sitting on my kitchen table. I haven't told my parents yet. I haven't told most of our friends. I've been living in this limbo, this space between married and divorced, between who I was and who I might become. Derek texted me this morning. Still want to get that dinner? I stared at the message for 20 minutes, typed and deleted 5 different responses. Finally, I just wrote not yet. I need to figure some things out first. He responded immediately, I get it. I'm here when you're ready. The thing is, I don't know if I'll ever be ready. Not for Derek, not for Marcus, not for any of it. I'm 35 years old and I feel like I'm still trying to figure out what I actually want out of life instead of what I think I should want. I told you at the beginning that everyone thinks I destroyed my marriage with one careless comment, and that's true. But the fuller truth is that I destroyed my marriage over years of small moments of dishonesty. Not lying exactly, but not being fully truthful either. Not with Marcus, not with myself. Every time I told him I was happy when I was just comfortable. Every time I said it was fine when it wasn't quite fine. Every time I chose not to have a difficult conversation because it was easier to keep things smooth on the surface. Every time I looked at another man and told myself it didn't mean anything. Those moments added up. They built a marriage that looked solid from the outside but was hollow inside. And that comment at the party didn't destroy anything, it just finally revealed what had already been destroyed. I still don't know if I'm the villain or the victim in this story. I suspect I'm both. I hurt Marcus deeply, but I also hurt myself by staying in something that was never quite right instead of being brave enough to admit it. The worst part isn't the divorce or the judgment from friends or the awkwardness at work. The worst part is that I've lost trust in my own feelings. How do I know what I want when I've spent so long pretending to want what I'm supposed to want? How do I know if my feelings for Derek are real, or if I've just built him up in my head as an escape from my real problems? How do I know if I'm capable of actually loving someone, or if I'm just good at going through the motions? I'm going to sign the papers. I decided that this morning. Not because I want to be with Derek, but because Marcus is right. He deserves better than someone who's just going through the motions. And maybe I deserve the chance to figure out who I actually am outside of a relationship, outside of other people's expectations. But I'm scared. I'm scared of being alone. I'm scared of being judged. I'm scared that I'll regret this for the rest of my life. I'm scared that I had something good and I ruined it because I couldn't stop wondering if there was something better. And I'm scared that the real problem isn't Marcus or Derek or marriage itself. The real problem is me. That I'm fundamentally incapable of being satisfied, of choosing something and committing to it fully, of being the kind of person who can build something lasting instead of always looking around for what else might be out there. People keep asking me if I'm okay, and I keep saying I'm fine. I'm not fine, I'm a mess. But I'm trying to at least be an honest mess instead of a mess who pretends everything is okay. So that's my confession. I said my coworker was more my type. My husband heard and moved out that same night, and now I'm getting divorced. But the real story isn't about one comment at one party. It's about all the ways I was dishonest in tiny increments until honesty became impossible. It's about choosing safety over authenticity until I didn't know the difference anymore. It's about hurting someone good because I was too afraid to admit what I actually wanted, even to myself. And the thing I still haven't admitted to anyone, the thing that makes me most ashamed, there's a part of me that's relieved. Relieved that it's over. Relieved that I don't have to pretend anymore. Relieved that I can finally stop trying to be someone I'm not. I don't know if that makes me honest or just selfish. Probably both. I'm learning that most things are both.